Alright guys, this video is entitled What a Soil Test Really Means. A lot of people are excited when you go out and do your food plots, especially if this is your first go and you want to be pretty serious about it. The best thing in my mind is to know at least what's available in your soil. So when you go do your soil test, you're going to pick out multiple random spots in the area you intend to plant. And when you do that, make sure you're not within, I would say, 10 to 15 yards minimum of a tree line, because it can affect your readings. I wouldn't get any closer than that. But if you just go out here randomly in this open area, get 10 to 12 samples, you're going to pack it up in a bag and send it off to be tested. And then you're going to get your results back. So I'm going to cover a few different things here to help you realize what a soil test is really telling you. Let's say you get a soil test and for the most part your soil is in pretty good shape. And actually, let me take it back. This will be a better way to set it up. Let's say you send off 3 soil tests. The first soil test comes back with excellent soil conditions. So right off the bat, you're blessed with good ground, a lot of available nutrition. So the second test comes back, and then you find out I've got a few things that are showing that it's either low or barely meeting requirements to function properly. And then you get back your third test, which is what mine would have looked like, and it would have said nitrogen's low, potassium's low, you're acidic, there's a lot of other things in here that's wrong. Boron's low. My boron level was like 0.1 when I had it tested a long time ago, and it needs to be at least 1.2. Well, the first thought in your head is my ground is short. So what does the soil test tell me I need? Well, based on the first one, you don't need to do anything. You can just go ahead and plant if everything's in great shape. Second soil test says, okay, you've got a few things wrong. Maybe your potash is low. Maybe you've got a couple of trace minerals that's not hitting the mark, or maybe the nitrogen's just a hair off in a couple of, in a few spots or something. And first thing you're wanting to do is add fertilizer to balance the soil out. Hey, there's no problem using fertilizer. Now on that third test, when you have all kinds of problems, here's my question to you. Is your soil, that's compared to what soil test 1 and soil test 2 are, is it just as good as that soil that comes back with the higher returns? I'll let you think about that for a second. Is soil test 3 does soil test 3 have the ability to be as good as 1 and 2 of your other 2 examples that I gave out? The answer is yes. So if you have poor soil and you look at your soil test, it's going to say, now I'm just going to use the poor end as an example. Let's say it's going to tell me I need 400 pounds of nitrogen per acre. I need 500 pounds of potassium, 600 pounds of potash. And I'm just listing some really high numbers to indicate that the soil is poor. Well, here's the thing that you got to realize. See how well this is growing? This ground was considered extremely poor soil just 4 years ago. So it looked a lot more like this, but now suddenly I got it growing like this. What has changed to make this better? Well, there's a few things other than the fact that I have added fertilizer. When you add fertilizer based on soil test, you're basically putting a band-aid on the problem. And the real issue is it's not the lack of nutrition, because your nutrition is here. You just have to make the soil unlock it. So a lot of the problems that you see with poor soil, like let's say soil test example 3, there could be a number of factors that is hindering your plot from maybe looking like this. And what it is the nutrients can be locked up in different forms. So you have the gas form, which is the air we breathe. You have liquid form. You have solid form. And that's the basics of it. So when you get into the solid form, there can be subtle levels of solids. So you consider dirt a solid, right? It can be loose, you can manipulate it, but it's still considered a solid. Rocks, on the other hand, is what people really think of as a solid. This has nutrition in it. It's just locked up in this rock. So can this pear tree have the root ability to remove this or suck out nutrition from this rock? The answer is no. None of the plants have the ability to really do that. Bacteria is your answer. So if you've got soil locked up, and nutrition's a really big problem based on what your soil test says, maybe you should add some good bacteria to your soil, because there is bacteria available that does eat rock, and then it can transfer the nutrients to plants afterwards. So you can actually put bacteria that eat this, and if I did that, this bacteria would be so happy just because of all the rocks that's in here. But it would unlock more nutrition from your soil. And then when you plant a huge variety of species, you are also unlocking nutrients, not only from the top of the soil, but from the deep. And if you don't do a tilling method and you're one of the crimper guys and do a no-till drill, those roots will eventually grow way deeper than what a tilled food plot looks like. So you're grabbing deeper and you're pulling up. So the next time you go and do a soil test, if you want to keep track of your soil, soil test 1 could still come back even better than the first time. Soil test 2 may show that those shortages no longer exist because of all the plant selection you put in the soil to really add fertility that way. Soil test 3, it may not necessarily be good as 1 and 2, but you can see improvements to where you're like, okay, I'm heading on the right track. And as you keep doing cycles over the years, you're going to see that soil test continue to climb and move into the right direction. So your soil test at year 1 should look totally different by year 3, and then should be different again by year 4, 5, 6, and beyond. And then eventually it's either going to kind of plateau out where it maintains, or it can continue to improve for the rest of your life, which is what will happen with most people, because you're adding soil depth that's really good versus what soil test 3 might show as poor ground. So basically all it is it's how bad of a nutrient lockup you have in your soil. The lower the numbers get, that means the worse that the lockup is in the ground. So people that have sandy soil will often come back with bad nutrition reports because the nutrients are not setting on top, they sunk down deep. Water penetrates deep. It's going to keep flushing things deeper than, say, my clay soil that I'm working with here. So, and doing variety planting in sandy soil is actually the smart thing to do, in my opinion, because you're going to have so many different forms of roots reaching and grabbing at different depths to bring it to the top and then create a new rotting mat and hold that nutrition in place. Then when you go to do your soil test, your organic matter will climb, your nutrient level is going to climb. That's all you're doing. It's forcing the soil to unlock what it already has. So hopefully that'll help you with how to determine what soil tests are. It's just basically a guideline to tell you how bad nutrition is really locked up. That's it. And once you kind of get that in your head, then your goal should be, okay, well, if I want to put fertilizer in here to at least get a good crop in and work my way out of getting fertilizer, that's what you would want to generally do. So you put your good crop out, put your fertilizer, whatever amendments that you particularly need at that time. And then once your ground is built up enough, you get rid of the fertilizer. I immediately start weaning fertilizer off by year 2. I keep track of how much weight I put out here poundage wise, like in this strip right here. Year 1 I used 300 pounds, and then year 2 I used right around 220 pounds. Year 3, I used a grand total of 140 pounds, and now I've already got 70 pounds put in it. And based on the way it's growing right now, this biomass should be good enough to feed my crop. I may have to come in and put maybe a 10 or 15 pound touch up somewhere along the way, but it is getting reduced. And hopefully by year 5 or year 6, it's going to be a big 0. So I keep declining my fertilizer cost by unlocking nutrition that I need to get out of the soil through plants. All right, guys, I hope that helps you. And if you got questions, feel free to ask. You all have a great day.